Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, as promised, I'm going to be going through this series talking about my experiences with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all that kind of stuff. So, I want to give you one example of some of the frustrations I've had reading these books. This book in particular, the Player's Handbook, which is arguably the most sold and most popular book because lots of people buy this to be players. And sometimes you buy this and then you decide, maybe I want to run this game and all that kind of good stuff. A lot of the rules of the game are actually in this book. So I'll give you a real life example, but I've also cheated and put all kinds of post-its here because I have to find out, where I'm going in this book to find something out. So as I started cracking this book and initially trying to help the kids at the library create their characters, I started to run into some information that I needed to look up here and there. And I was also just reading the book in general to figure out, well, hey, what's going on with this book? And this will be kind of fun and neat. So I'm reading the book. And I'm starting to read about the characters. And I get to, let's say, the Bard. And I don't want to play a Bard. I'm not sure any of them want to play a Bard, which was great as far as I'm concerned. But I get here, and I'm on page 52, or 53, and they're talking about the Bard, talking about the Bard casting spells. And then it says, Spellcasting Focus. You can use a musical instrument, see Chapter 5, Equipment, as a spellcasting focus for your Bard spells. Huh, that's kind of interesting. I wonder what that does. Maybe that makes them cooler or something. I don't know. But I continue reading because one kid actually wants to be a cleric. And so I'm reading about the cleric, trying to help him out. And once again, I'm on page 58, Spellcasting Focus. You can use a holy symbol, see Chapter 5, Equipment, as a spellcasting focus for your cleric spells. You can. That's interesting. And, I'm not here to criticize addition to addition. So I'm not going to say just because I needed a holy symbol before, now I just can use a holy symbol. And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. So you know what? I'm going to stop. I'm going to look that up. But first, before I go to Chapter 5, I say, well, a spellcasting focus. There's got to be some more stuff in this book about spellcasting focus, maybe about holy symbol. So let me just go back to the index in the book. And so there are about 4 pages of really, really tiny font, which is okay. Although the book does seem to be marketed towards older people, but we'll get to that a different time. So I'm looking, and here I'm got page 316, and I find... I have to squint a little bit. I find Spellcasting Focus. Where is it? I know it's here because I looked at it before. Spellcasting Focus. Okay, great. See Spellcasting. Bard, Cleric, Druid, Paladin, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. Those are all different entries. There's no page numbers. Later on, I realized that Spellcasting is Chapter 10. Okay, I'm not sure why they didn't put Chapter 10. Here's a page number. But that's all it says. So it directs me back to all the classes, which I check all of them. And of course, they all say you can use a blank as a spellcasting focus. Okay, well, that's kind of interesting. So I look at these other classes, and there's something like let me look at holy symbol, because it did say holy symbol. The kid wanted to be a cleric, although one of the other kids wanted to be a druid. So I go here. And I'm looking, let me see if I can find anything about holy symbol before I go to the equipment chapter, just to see if it gives me any more information about this thing. And we're going to go to that equipment chapter, don't worry. Holy symbol. See spellcasting. Cleric, paladin. Okay, so it's redirecting me back to the cleric thing where it said spellcasting holy symbol. Once again, no page numbers. No indication that I'm talking about sections of a chapter in one, and spellcasting is in fact chapter 10. Doesn't tell me anything. Later, lots of other places gives me page numbers, not here. So I say, well, geez, let me look up Druidic Focus. Druidic Focus says, interesting. 150, 151, Druidic Focus. See also Spellcasting Focus, Druid. Guillermo, I'm answering Guillermo here. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the system another time. There's parts I like, parts I don't like. But I'm talking about right now about how this book is written. Because this is a role-playing game. This is a technical manual. This is something that costs. Well, I think I got it for less than $30, but the list price of the thing is $49.95. This is a game you buy, hopefully, that's going to teach you how to play the game. All right, so that's interesting. But Druid Focus actually says 150, 151. That's kind of interesting that it would give me page numbers when everything else didn't. And I also looked up, wizards and warlocks and sorcerers, and they have a thing called an arcane focus, and it could be a wand and this and the other thing. Okay, great, wonderful. Arcane focus, not in here anywhere in the index, just does not exist. I checked. That's really odd. Jeez, how come that's not in the index when this is like company with arguably the biggest budget. Okay, well, anyhow, let's keep going. Let's do what they say. Let's go to chapter 5. And let's check out equipment. All right, so let's go to chapter 5 and check out the equipment lists. And let's see, where are we here with the chapter 5? I got my playing card in here if you're looking up for something else before. And let's see, equipment, and then the, okay, I'm in equipment now. All right, I'm looking at, let's see, boy, starting equipment, money, armor. All right, that's cool. Aha, well, there I'm getting to 150 and 151 because those are actually these pages here. So all the other stuff besides weapons and armors and all this other kind of junk, you know, like they can get pythons and miner's picks and perfume and parchment and all those things, right? But they have, oh, let's see. All right, this is the Druidic Focus was the only one that said this page number. Okay, Sprig of Mistletoe, Totem, Wooden Staff, U-Wand. Okay. And I find here my arcane focus are crystals and orbs and rods and staffs and wand. And my holy symbol is a holy symbol. Amulet, emblem, or reliquary. Okay. All these sorts of things. So I find, and musical instruments, I get musical instruments. I think that might be in a different spot here. Or do they just give them different names? All right, I don't want to talk about the bar too much. But anyhow, so I look and let's see. Let's see about Druidic focus and a holy symbol. Okay, a holy symbol is yada yada yada, represents a god, pantheon. The appendix B lists all of the holy symbols listed. A cleric or paladin can use a holy symbol as a spellcasting focus, as described in chapter 10. To use the symbol in this way, the caster must hold it in hand, wear it visibly, or bear it on a shield. And let's see, arcane focus. A sorcerer, warlock, or wizard can use such an item as a spellcasting focus, as described in chapter 10. I'm seeing a pattern here. Excellent. And Druidic focus. Same thing. You can use this object as a spellcasting focus. Okay, cool. I found my thing. All right. Excellent. This is great. So let's go to chapter 10. Chapter 10. Oh, it's spellcasting. That's what they weren't telling me before. It's spellcasting. Great. So I'm going to figure out finally what these things are. So I start reading chapter 10, spellcasting. And you'll notice that, like a lot of the book, the headings for various parts of a chapter are in this darker brown text, right? So I'm looking for spellcasting focus, and I'm figuring this is probably going to be in that same sort of font, right? It's not. So I look and I look and look, and I see things like components and range and casting time. I'm in casting a spell, okay? Because I think one of them said something about casting a spell, and that's weird. It's not in here. Until I read again, and I read in the components section, and I find not in its own little section, but in this font here, the bolded font, which gets used occasionally, not very often in the book. I see the one reference to the word spellcasting focus. And also says, well, geez, a material casting some spells requires particular objects specified in parenthesis. A character can use a component pouch or a spellcasting focus found in chapter 5, equipment, in place of the components required for a spell. But if the cost is indicated for a component, then they have to use that component. So what a spellcasting focus does, I finally find out, is relieve you of the need to have material components for a spell, unless they actually cost something. I'm not going to gripe about that and say, oh, gee, they should be more powerful. Finally, after all that time, it tells me what this thing actually does, when it could have just, for the same amount of words as saying, see spellcasting focus, blah, 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 in chapter 10, it could have said that's what it does, everywhere. The index could have actually given me page numbers to find stuff out. It could have had a little thing about spellcasting focus. And then I have to go back to the component pouch. Gee, what's a component pouch? And it takes me right back to that page 150 and 151, where I found everything else. And sure enough, there's a thing here on chapter 150 called the component pouch. It's pretty expensive. It's 25 gold pieces. That's weird. So then I read the description for component pouch, and it says a component pouch is a small, watertight leather belt pouch that has compartments to hold all the material components and other special items you need to cast your spells, except for those components that have a specific cost as indicated in a spell's description. Notice it does not say there are components in it. This is bad writing, people. This is bad writing. And there's examples all over the book where the writing and the instructions are just bad. They're things where it's poorly written, it's poorly edited. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad game. There's lots of things I like about this game. We're going to talk about stuff like that. But that's one example. And it's one that jumped out of me within the first 10 minutes of cracking this book and trying to do something with it. And I've been doing this for a long, long time. I'm not stupid. I managed to figure out what the information was. Put yourself in the shoes that's never played a role-playing game before, ever. And they're going to buy arguably the most popular role-playing game in the world. This book should tell them how to play the game, and it should do it flawlessly and easily. And it does not. Take it easy, kids.